Hey everyone, welcome to another 90-day Fiance recap chat. This is Irene, CBiz Media, where we talk faith, love, and trends. 90-Day Fiance is a reality show that follows couples. One is from the U.S., the other from another country. We get to see their relationship challenges generally. They have to deal with long distances, cultural barriers, language boundaries, the whole 90-day visa process to get married, all the legal ramifications of that. It is 90-Day Fiance. All right, guys, let's get into these couples and this recent recap with Sarper and Shekinah. There's no duvet. Oh no, Sarper's like, I've had a duvet my whole life. This is crazy. The whole 40 something years, and there's no duvet. So a duvet is a toilet where water springs up and kind of cleans you up. And we don't really have that in the US ordinarily. I think you can get one, but it's not an ordinary thing. Sarper's kind of stressed about the fact that the apartment's a little bit too cozy. And then they show when, he would scratch his back on the corner wall, and she's like, I don't want my walls dingy, so she buys him a back scratcher. And he's like, well, you're so busy. I need to make an appointment to even see you. I didn't know all these things were going to happen. And, he's petting the dog and says, I guess you and me will be inmates together. And I thought that was kind of funny because it's small there. He doesn't have his duvet. There's also a lot of other restrictions that she has, especially if you guys can't cook because it's going to make her home/office smell like food, and she has to have a certain clinical vibe there. So it's going to be a big challenge for them. But he says, at least you're beautiful. That makes up for a little bit. He said he's going to try to respect her rules, but it's a red flag that she didn't disclose all this information before of what the living situation would be like. So, then they start canoodling in the bed. I guess this is the high point for him. It's like, at least I get this. And it's funny because the dog's in there and the dog is whimpering like, what is happening right now? I just thought that was funny. Then Sarper, of course, has to live out his Baywatch fantasy, looking like Mr. David Hasselhoff there running through the beach. That's what they're doing. Having a little R&R, I guess. And he, as they're going to the beach, he said it feels like a kid to a candy bar. I don't think he knows his sayings properly, but that's what he said. I know he was a little heavier in the past, and I do like candy bars. I don't know if he still eats candy bars. It doesn't look like it, but he's saying, looking at everything, all the sights, that's how he feels. And he has a problem with saying the word beach versus the word bee. So, that was kind of a funny thing. And they put the little title up as he's running. He presented an outfit to Shekinah earlier so she can fit the whole Baywatch theme and be his Pamela Anderson. And so he's running through the beach, and then they put the little title up calling it Sarper Watch. I thought that was so fun. It was cute. He told her she looks gorgeous and everything. And then he asked her, can I come to the beach? It's kind of nice. Can I come to the beach sometimes? Kind of by myself? And she's like, well, let's just start exploring the neighborhood first. We have to build trust. And so he's kind of, I think he's kind of taken aback by that answer, just not really happy about it. We know his history of 1,200 women, or was it more than that? I can't remember. But she's not sure if she can trust him out here on the beach streets. He might be trying to chat up a cutie in a bikini. Who knows what, Sarper could have on his menu, so to speak, especially just let him out and let him go wild. He's like the dog. You have to be back in at a certain hour. He's saying he's doing his best to show her that he won't cheat. But Shekinah's questioning his long-term loyalty. He's doing good right now, but she said everything was happening so fast. He cleaned everything up so fast. She's not really sure if this is going to last, so she has to make sure it lasts. She says, should I trust him too much or not enough? Either way, maybe it won't work. And Sarper's like, without full trust, he's out of here. He's going back to his country. So at some point they have to get to the level of trust. Um, and it's kind of messed up. It's just like, well, should I trust him, let him go and trust him too much, or just, if I trust him too much, then he might mess something up. Well, then if he messes something up, he messes something up. He's a grown man. You chose to be in this relationship with him, and I know he's in a new country and all of that. He's gonna need some assistance, but I don't know if he's a kid in the candy store. Maybe he is, because he did say something about the candy bar. But I don't feel like you should put a leash on your partner to such a strong level that they can't be their own selves. They can't be their own person. They're going to be unhappy, and that's already going to be a recipe for disaster, because if they're unhappy due to the conditions, then they're probably going to leave because of that. Maybe not directly because of you, but if you put conditions on people and they're not happy in those conditions, it's probably not going to work either way. So I don't think you should ever put a leash on a man or a woman. That's my thoughts. All right, so now Mina, Mark, and the daughter Jordan. So at this point, Mina and Jordan had their conversation, and Mina is not happy with her attitude, how she's trying to control the relationship of her and her own dad, her dad and Mina. So Mina's not happy with the daughter Jordan trying to control the relationship. I hope I didn't get you too confused. So after she's done talking with Mina, who says basically, you're not coming to my wedding, she kind of storms off. Then Daddy goes following her, saying what's up, and I think Mark asked her boyfriend Gabe to watch the baby, and he's like, well, I'll do my best. And she's like, well, Jordan's like, well, maybe her mom should. And to be honest with you, Jordan, you have a point, because I've seen multiple times, but maybe her dad should too, because he's not very good at watching himself. So now she's talking to her dad, telling him basically Mina uninvited her to the wedding. And he's like, well, it's my fault. I should stop telling everything that happens between, privately. I should just let you guys figure it out. He's like, well, maybe this is a sign that we shouldn't get married. And she said, well, it seems like it's a lot of red flags. So he now feels kind of put in a position, he's not really feeling it's a red flag, but she thinks it's a lot. And now he's feeling that he has to be put in this position where he has to choose between them. And, another question is asked, she may divorce him and take all the money and leave. She wants her dad to find someone that's his own age in the U.S., but they can't really fix it now at this point because they have a baby together. She's like, well, at least you guys don't have to have any more babies. And he's basically like, no, don't try to tell me what to do. She's like, I'm not telling you what to do with whatever the situation is, because it's kind of too late. You had a kid with her. You guys are kind of locked for life, at least for the next 18 years. But she said basically, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm just not going to be around for when all this happens. And Mina says, due to this, she might go back at some point to Paris, but right now she just wants to go back to New Hampshire. So Jordan and Gabe leave. Mark's asking her what happened. They go back to the room. So then they go and talk, and basically she says she doesn't like me. I don't want her at the wedding. And he's like, I don't understand. You guys need to fix this. I know I messed it up, but you need to fix it. But she's like, I'm going to go back to New Hampshire tomorrow. I was like, well, what about meeting the rest of the family? Come on, let's try. She's like, I don't really want to try anymore. And Maria sounds like she's in the middle, talking it up like she's trying to fix things. And this is the little baby, by the way. And she really sounds like she's talking in the whole middle of this, but she's probably mimicking what she's seeing in the fighting and the arguing, which is never good for a kid to see all that. But it sounds like she's trying to fix things. And she keeps saying, mama, mama. It's kind of sweet, but it's kind of sad. So Mina goes off, I think, on the balcony to herself. She said it's too much to try, and she starts crying. The baby's out there with her. And Mark's in the room having a tantrum. He actually goes into one of the rooms and slams the door. So this is what the situation they're dealing with. She's with an older man. He's kind of acting like a child, and the Jordan is acting like a child who's his daughter, and Maria is probably more adult and grown up than than all of these three people combined. But I feel bad for Maria. And there's gonna be some more things that happen with Mina. I do feel like on some level she's gonna be ganged up on, especially she's there by herself as the only person of color in the room. There are people that I guess appear to have a little money and appear to think that they're something and be a bit entitled and upper class. So there's already going to be judgment anyway from the fact she's from another country, but for the fact she's a woman of color, there's probably going to be extra stigma on her, and it looks like she's going to be ganged up on. Mina is not expressing herself very well. She does need to calm down. Jordan needs to calm down too. And so does Mark. Somebody needs to have a level head in this situation. I really feel like none of them do except baby Maria, and she's too young to articulate what makes common sense, but I think she probably knows it better than they do. Sorry, Maria. I hope this works out for you. Next up, we have Matt, Amina, and Ani. And Amina again lets them know from last time that she felt disrespected. That they slept together, and this is a throuple now. So, the new girl to the relationship, Ani, because these two are already married, slept with Matt because she wasn't feeling it the first night, so she bowed out and didn't know that they slept together, kind of behind her back. So she felt disrespected that happened, and no one informed her that they were about to do this. If you guys are supposed to be in a relationship, and let's say if you're in a regular relationship and the moment strikes, do you really want to stop everything and go tell somebody, hey, we're gonna go do this? You probably don't, but that's the problem with being in a throuple. I call these three the bumbling throuple. They're not doing well with their throupling. I think most people wouldn't do well with this, so that's why it shouldn't be a thing. Now, she says she feels bad for telling. Ani was like, I feel bad for doing this and telling you what happened to Mina, but she was happy that she did tell her. But Ani, they were like, okay, so they go to some type of resort place. I don't know. They're always at resorts. And this one part is outdoors, and it looks like they're camping or glamping. I don't know. So now they're going to come up with these rules. Okay, now that we're in a throuple, let's make these some rules. We have some boundaries we need to set or something. Amina's on it. She's business about her throupling. And she's like, something's off. We need to have rules. So Ani's rule is if we do fight all night, that they need to make up before the end of the night. Don't go to bed angry, basically. But before we get to that part, I have some more notes here. She doesn't want to fight. Amina's now seeing different sides of everybody. This is the first time they've been together for a longer period of time. Physically, they've been talking online and that. Matt says he felt that they teamed up against him. He felt like he was the guy, and now they're both against him for sleeping with Ani without Amina knowing. Amina says that they already have issues, which I didn't know. So then bringing in a third person might not go very well. And I'm like, why are you guys now seeing that? Bringing in a third person doesn't fix a broken relationship that's already broken. You guys probably should have fixed what you broke, and then you probably wouldn't even have need for a throuple anyway. So I'm like, why did y'all do this when you knew you had issues in your relationship? Now you're going to bring someone else. So she's like, it's going to be even more difficult and a lot more work now because of that. Her biggest fear is losing her husband, Matt. So they try to talk and work it out and set up these boundaries. But yeah, I don't know whose idea this throuple was, but I feel like it probably wasn't Amina's. So as they were kind of talking about, before they were talking about some issues, and again, I see another solo canoodle with Ani and Matt. I feel like Ani and Matt are really bonding with each other. and his wife Amina is nowhere to be found. They're always hugged up on each other more than he's hugged up on his own wife. So she will ask for a kiss, and he does like a weird. He pushes her face in and gives her a kiss in like a weird way. She's like, she didn't like that kiss. So he's like, well, I guess I do my intimacy, my bedroom stuff better than I do my kissing. Whatever. At this point, Matt says that he feels like there's a lot of expectations for him and what he has to do. And again, we get into those guidelines, and Ani looks like she's upset, like she doesn't want any guidelines, to be honest with you. Again, she says, well, hers is don't go to sleep angry, and Matt's like, well, let me speak, don't take over the conversation, as women can do at times, so give me a chance to speak. And she said, well, and then Amina's like, the biggest rule for me is if you're gonna sleep with the other person, you have to get permission. So they were like, okay, we respect that that's how you feel. And, on the sideline, she said she did feel a bit of jealousy and disrespect. And then when it came to Matt asking, she asked, well, if she wanted to sleep with Ani, Matt was like, enjoy yourself. I don't need any permission slip from you. Just go ahead. Then they have a weird throuple kiss. And for Amina, one of the biggest problems is Ani has their whole relationship as a secret. And basically, she's told her family that she's with Matt and that Amina was just a friend. So she has to kind of fix up this scenario where she's at least open about them and they're not a secret. And she needs to see some changes from Ani before they can really move forward in this strange deal that they have. Definitely a bumbling throuple here. I feel like it's just too messy and too complicated, and they need to drop Ani right now and probably forever, to be honest with you, and fix their marriage, and then maybe they won't need an Ani. That's my thoughts on that. So Aaliyah is on her way to the U.S. Sean is cleaning and picking up things, and like Aaliyah says, Aaliyah's particular about cleanliness. She's a licensed nurse in Brazil and also a germaphobe, so he's got to figure out how to deal with her on that level. He's saying he has to take a shower before he gets into the bed, or the sheets are considered dirty to her. He's like, he's not naturally this clean, so he's kind of like a regular guy, I see. The airport meetup was warm and welcoming. They're both from the LGBTQ community, and some people may feel a little bit awkward about doing things publicly, but it's not a feeling that they had. They're open with their sexuality, so they had a warm welcome. A couple kisses there, and the dog was brought to the airport as well. And Aaliyah's like, I have to adapt to these dog licking me, but being a germaphobe, it's not great to have a dog, I assume. They've been together for 4 years, but because Aaliyah used to be Douglas, or Douglas is now Aaliyah's still kind of new for him, so Sean feels like he's kind of starting over with this person, because Aaliyah is transgender, I believe, so now it's like being with a whole nother new person. And Aaliyah's like, I feel like I'm born again. This is a new beginning for me in the U.S. And then they're like driving around LA, and then Aaliyah's like, from the slums to Beverly Hills. I'm like, okay, we can caption you. Good caption, Aaliyah. So then they get to the house. She's like, oh, it's like a medieval looking house. And then he has these weird dinosaur paintings and dinosaur sculptures. And so then he shows her the memorabilia room. And I think is it Cher's dress or something in there that's like put in some type of a plastic display case. And Aaliyah's like, oh, can I wear it? Of course you can, Aaliyah. Of course you can't. Basically, Aaliyah's like, it's too many things here. Some are good and some are just weird. And then then it's like something in the room, like some weird thing was hanging there. She's like, there's nice things, and then there's things like this, which I don't even know what it was. And I thought that was really funny because I did not know what that was hanging there. They had amazing outdoor scene in the evening. He had a charcuterie board set up and a bunch of nice lights on the patio. It looked very cozy on the patio couch. And Sean's like, okay, at this point, let's get in our PJs and cuddle. I did my STD test and everything is fine. I'm like, okay, so he's gonna go right to the STD test. We know what he's thinking. So Aaliyah's not stupid and is like, hey, well, show me. Okay, you said it, but I need to see the paperwork. You do have to get the receipts. They've been in this open relationship because Sean basically couldn't be long distance and not have some type of a intimate situation. He needed to get some ever so often, I guess. He couldn't wait that long. So I think he was saying, he hasn't been sleeping with a lot of people, but still he needed somebody. And Aaliyah's like, I haven't really been sleeping with anyone myself. Can we now close this little open relationship now that I'm here in the country? You really don't have a reason to have anyone else. So Sean's like, you know what? Let's just talk about that later. Let's wait and see because, you're just getting here and we need to see how things go. And Aaliyah basically the sideline says, now that I'm here, this basically should be over. And Sean reveals to us that, hey, now that now that Douglas is now Aaliyah, he can't really, not really sure if he wants to be with a woman. He doesn't know if they can both be happy when he's used to men. Also, I think he said their bedroom life changed after Douglas became Aaliyah. I don't know if there's certain different things that were wanted. I don't know if the sex drive went down. I don't know all of that, but basically things changed and he doesn't know if he could be happy with someone that's not a man because that's what he's used to. So they're in the bed together. The dog jumps in the bed. Aaliyah's not really feeling the dog waking them up, jumping in the bed. And she was like, well, I thought we were going to have a small puppy versus this big dog. And Sean lets us know that it doesn't seem like anything intimate happened because basically he passed out in the bed while Aaliyah was trying to take off their makeup and get stuff for their face. So the next day they take the dog out to the dog park and you have to pick up the dog's mess, right? And Leah's basically, you know what, my fiance is gonna do that. That's your job, honey. I'm not picking up any dog poop. Agreed. I wish that was a perfect scenario, but Sean's like, you're the dog mommy now, though, so you're gonna have to help in some type of way. Like, well, I'm not picking up that poop. I agree. I wouldn't want to. That's the reason why I really don't want to have a pet because it's a lot of work. You might as well have a baby. And I'm not trying to equate animals with babies, guys. So please don't take it there. But it's a lot of work to have a dog. So they have a little picnic while they're out there. And they have Aaliyah has her first peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And they talk about the weird mouthfeel of peanut butter. Okay. But then you guys just picked up dog poop and now you're eating. So I just thought about that and I don't like that idea. So the conversation goes, so does everybody your friends, family know that we're getting married? Well, are you embarrassed of me or anything or whatnot? What's going on? And he's like, no, if it was up to me, I don't really need marriage or to be married. But since we have to do this process, it's forcing us to get married, and it's like a lot of pressure because I was married before, it didn't work out. I really don't need marriage. So Leah's like, well, would you marry me otherwise if we weren't in the process? And I don't recall an answer being given, but I'll say this. I think he said that he was fearful about marriage is what he said. He didn't say directly that answer, but he said because he was married before, didn't work for him, so he's a little bit fearful when it comes to marriage. But he did not, really answer if he would marry or otherwise. I guess he has a issue with marriage generally. Okay, now with Steve and Maddie, he goes to the barber and he comes out. I mean, he was looking kind of good to me. I'm sorry. He hated it though. He hated his beard and his mustache trim. He said half his mustache was gone. He had a pretty nice looking goatee. He kind of had an urban look, which he wasn't going for. And he said, there's a misconception because he's from the Iran that he's Arab. So I'm not sure what he is, and maybe I can do some research or find out in future episodes. If he's not Arab, then what is his nationality? I liked it. Maddie was like, I'm sorry, Stevie was like, you still look good. Well, it doesn't matter how they did it, but you look good. But later she confessed she really didn't like it. I liked it because his beard is in mustache area is kind of patchy anyway. They kind of cleaned up all that kind of patchy looking because it wasn't full, it wasn't thick, it wasn't filled in right. So they go home. Again, I thought his lineup was nice. It made him look like an urban man, and I thought it was a good look, but he didn't like it. So Stevie had to use her artistic skills to start drawing and filling in his areas of his mustache beard. I need to have a comparison side by side shot, see if she did a very good job or not. I really couldn't tell the difference. Anyway, so they went to this nice coffee shop. He's giving me more urban. He's like wearing a white tee with the chain around his neck. Like, are you really against this urban look because you're wearing the clothes and everything? You're giving me urban, but you didn't like your haircut and your beard and mustache trim. Anyway, I was digging it. He was chilling at the coffee shop. They were chilling together. And the conversation about him going back home came up again, and she was telling I believe that was her dad's wife or girlfriend. I'm not sure. I'm still not sure the relationship of those two. Guess I need to do research on that. But she's like, well, basically you said you wanted to go back home, and I was telling her about it, and he was like, well, why'd you tell her? And she was like, well, I have certain feelings about this situation. He was like, well, this is just a feeling, it's nothing to really look into like that. Then he gets even deeper, says, honestly, he's missing his parents even more. Even now that he's been there for a little bit, he's missing his parents more. And he really wants to see his family. He doesn't actually want to go back. It's not about going back and leaving her, but to see his family. He's homesick, right? So she's like, so is it always going to be like this where you're always going to want to go back? And he was like, well, honestly, if you didn't want me, I was thinking that I would stay here, but now I would probably go home instead. So Stevie's like, oh, this is a huge red flag moment. Why did you offer up that information? Because nobody asked him this. And I mean, he's like, he had a plan already if she wasn't with him, that he was going to stay up there anyhow in the U.S. And yeah, girl, you're right. It's just a very big red flag moment. And he was like, it's just a thought. Well, she said, well, this thought makes me feel very insecure. And the thought you're having is not the thought I'm having. And if we do get married, it's forever or nothing. So you better be sure that this is really what you want. And she starts talking about her family, not sure if they would fully accept him and everything, and how she waited so late to tell her dad. But she said, whatever the case, whatever way it came out, I would have always chose you anyway. And it would be only forever for me. And, she said she's not willing to get hurt again, so make sure that this is what you want. And then he was like, well, I love you so much. But he said it in such a lame way. And she was like, you're not making me feel reassured about this. And I didn't feel reassured about it either by the way he sounded. Then he says, well, I wasn't expecting her to get so defensive about this. Me being her husband and her being my wife, she needs to be able to listen to me, and I should be able to tell her everything. And if I can't tell her everything and she's not going to be supportive, then how is this going to even work? And how can we get married if she's not up for this, no matter what I say, to be understanding? But you can't always. To me, it's unreasonable. He's saying she should be reasonable and understanding, but it's the way that he's putting this out. It sounds fishy to me. Like, okay, we understand that you are homesick, but did you have to phrase it in this way where you're gonna say, well, if we don't work, why is that even coming out of your mouth? That you're gonna stay in the country. It makes it look like you were all about the visa in the first place. And I saw other YouTubers saying that you were all about the visa. I thought it was a bit too early to say, but you were really loving America when you first came through, but you're still missing your mom and dad. It can be a thing, but he just seems insensitive and kind of cold. And Stevie, you really need to be watching yourself. I'm glad that you're seeing this up front. And I feel like she's not the person's easily swayed by things, and he's actually not very good with his words to even try to convince her that if anything else. So it's like, I don't know where this is gonna go. Is it over before it starts? If so, so be it. As long as Stevie gets out unscathed. If he goes home and can never come back to the US, so be it. That's where he wanted to be, right, in the first place. All right, Greg and Joan, they're out and about. She's excited to be out of the house without mom being around. Greg stays with the moms, and that's an issue for Joan. Talk about the dogs. They're taking the dogs out actually as well. She's okay with the dog Daisy, but the dog Lily's a little awkward to her, kind of giving her this look. So she's not sure how she feels about Daisy. So he's showing her what they call the Great South Bay. This is her first time walking a dog. It was weird, but she said she liked it. And then he asked her, were you nervous last night? Because basically they had no intimacy. She's like, yeah, because I'm really thinking about your mom at this point and how she has those rules. So she's like, so when can we move out, so we can be free? And he's like, 1.5, 2 years. She's like, oh, I'm shocked it's going to be that long. I thought it'd be about 6 months. She feels like a child at this point. Well, then he pulls out, the fact that he has all this debt. His car went down. The visa situation that he's trying to pay for, him going back and forth to see her in her country. He's about $8,000 in debt right now. So she's shocked that he's in that much debt. She's giving us some head rocks. She's giving us some black girl right now. Now I'm not talking about the African black girl. She's giving me U.S. black girl with the head knot, the head rock, and the head twists. I don't think she's liking this situation. And she's like, Americans aren't as stable as I thought. I thought he would be more stable. So what's going on? How are you guys going to pay for the wedding is what she asked. He's like, well, we can save money. I can cook the food. She's like, I don't want an ugly wedding dress. And Greg says basically you guys have to budget and figure it out. And, he basically needs to make some drastic changes. And Joan says to herself, basically, I rushed into this not knowing the full situation. If things don't change, I'm going back to Uganda. So next up, they are going to meet with his friends. He zips her into the dress and he's like, oh, you look so good in this dress. And so they're going to meet his friends, both named John. And we find out he has a lot of people named John in his life. But somebody's very excited. I think she's very excited. I guess the friends ask her how she feels about the U.S. And I think she says it's unreal. It's very different. It's clean. Then one of the Johns says, me and Greg were friends back in high school, I think, and they were troublemakers. They did lawn forking, which I had no idea what that was. You put a bunch of forks in somebody's lawn. That is weird and useless. But anyway, his friend also, John, says, he probably uses his humor as a deflection because he does have some things going on. And they kind of talk about the living situation and when Joan, expects to move. And she said she wanted to move in about 3 months. But then he talks about his bakery idea. I don't know if said a bakery van or just a full bakery. So, his friends are in the situation now, trying to help him figure out how he's going to have this marriage lifestyle and leave his mom's home when he doesn't really have much going on. And his friends are kind of giving him a hard time. They're really trying to work with him. It's on one friend that's talking more than the other. But they ask how many kids you want. She's like 2. He's like, I'd like about 4. What's realistically the next step? All of these questions that maybe I don't know if everybody should be in this conversation. These Johns, do they need to be in the conversation? Maybe not, but it was interesting to have them there, and they're thinking probably what the rest of the world would think. But the one John that was most vocal said he's worried that if he doesn't get his game up, that he will be kicked to the curb and Joan will be done with him. And he's probably right. For me, I feel like Joan is giving me a little bit of American entitlement, like I thought Americans had money. That's kind of like the only reason why I'm in this thing. I want to have me a cute wedding dress and all of these things. And, for the most part, she doesn't look like a gold digger, but she's just giving me a taste of that. She expected more money to be involved, but, Greg is definitely living beneath most Americans' means as a man, living with his mom, but he still has these job opportunities that he's not taking. And so many people would love to have a state job, which one of his friends mentioned. So it's like, why would you throw away a good job when you're now setting yourself up to get married? And also, why would you get married? It's like you're putting the cart before the horse. Why are you getting married when you don't have anything financially set up? You guys have to figure out how to have a cheap wedding, because you guys don't really have any money in the first place. And to me, I feel like you really should try to get that stuff together first. I'm not rich. I was seeing someone, we both didn't make a lot of money, but we both had an income. And at some point it was like, well, we're going to have like a modest wedding, because for me, it was all about the love and the wedding. And I kind of think that's what Greg is thinking, but I think he needs to at least be in a career situation before trying to take that big leap, and he's not able to do that thing, because it's like, okay, we can marry for love, but if you don't even have a regular job, then that's something that you should probably focus on before trying to get married, especially for the man, because the man is considered the breadwinner and he's bringing her in from another country. He's basically responsible for her. She can't work right away, so it's really on him to make sure that this thing works out right. And I don't know what situation Joan thought she was going to be in. Greg's like, well, she can't work right away, so he seems like he's looking for her to work. So I don't know if they even know what each other's expectations are at this point, because she did have a good job in her country. She probably could do pretty well in the U.S. once she's able to work. At least she can do better than him at this point. But it's like, does she love him for him, or the American lifestyle she thought she was going to have, or both? I mean, it can be a combination. So we're going to talk more about this. I think the season is picking up a bit. I'm getting more interested in what's going on. So we're going to talk more interesting and see what's happening next. Faith, Love, and Trends right here on CBiz Media. This is Irene. If you have any thoughts, comments, questions, you guys know what to do. Email me at cbiztv@yahoo.com or drop something down in the comments. Like, follow, subscribe. Would appreciate all of that love. Again, all the best, and God bless.